Right, how's it going, guys? Welcome to another video. Today I'm just going to be repotting my Ludisia discolor. This is called. I'm still getting used to that name. It's new to me, but it's in quite. It's not in too small of a pot, and I probably should wait until it finishes flowering before I transplant it. I understand there is going to be stress caused to the plant, but I'm not too worried about that. I did buy a nice large terracotta pot, and I'm going to be transplanting it into a mixture of this orchid mix. This orchid mix is a very fine mix, and it does have extra water retaining bits of terracotta, etc. in there, and it's very fine bark. So as it is a terrestrial orchid, they do prefer having a lot more contact with the media that they're in compared to epiphyte orchids, which grow in trees and have aerial roots. So these orchids do not produce aerial roots, and they actually suffer quite a lot if you let them dry out. So I've read. I've not had this very long at all. I've had this for a couple of days, and from doing more research, they grow and hang, which is quite interesting. This one so far is very upright. You can see that they're all standing very upright. I'm going to assume that that's because of the nursery situation it was grown in, but I have a big terracotta pot here that I'm going to be planting it into once I take that label off, and it's very important to keep these to not let these orchids dry out, because they deteriorate quite quickly and drop a lot of their leaves. And I am growing this not for the flowers, I'm growing this for the leaves, so it would be quite devastating if they drop a lot of their leaves. But before I lose too much sunlight, I'm going to turn the camera around and transplant the orchid. I'm going to show you the mix that I'm going to use. I'm going to be mixing a little bit of potting compost with the mix, just to produce more of a finer mix, and a little bit of perlite as well, just because it is a terrestrial orchid. That's what it's going to prefer. So I'm just going to turn the camera around, guys. Right, so here I've just got some regular potting compost with perlite. This is my normal mix that I use for my houseplants. There is no fertilizer, no feed in here. And then I'm going to be mixing mostly orchid. So I want the majority of the mix to be orchid mix, but we're just going to kind of see how this goes. And if I pour a little bit into my hand, I can show you what's in there. If it will focus. So you can see there's like large bits of terracotta for water retention, and then quite fine bark. And that's all the mix is made up of. Sorry that it's getting a bit dark. So let me just pour. It's quite a big pot that we've got to fill up, so I'm going to need quite a lot. That'll do. Just mix that all together. And so the mix we've got here is going to create a lot of there's going to be a lot of contact with the roots, as well as it being very well drained and nice and airy in there. So that to me seems absolutely perfect. Right, so I'm just going to start by pouring this in. It's probably going to take the majority of this mix here, and I'm going to need to mix up some more, but I don't want the orchid to sit too high in the pot, because as the stems grow outward, they're going to end up hanging over the pot. So if I have it a little lower in there, then as they grow outward, the rim of the pot will kind of hold the stems up a little bit. So I want that a little lower in there. So let me just dig around. I still want that a little bit lower, so I'm going to take a little bit out of the pot. So it's definitely useful to put it in the pot first of all, just to see the sort of level it's going to be at. So I think that to me seems like the right level. So I'm going to take it out of its pot and we're going to have a look at the roots. So this looks like it's been in this growing pot for quite some time. So I'm expecting to see a nice established root system. However, I haven't seen roots of this plant in person before, so it's going to be interesting. Try and loosen it up as gently as I can. Oh, and we're going to make some mess. Okay, so the roots actually haven't gone too deep into the pot, which is not an issue, I guess. Yeah, this is very loose. So I'll use some of that soil. Right, so we can see this side. Let me try and get a better angle with the camera. We can see here that it's quite shallow rooted, and there are some nice new shoots coming up on that. So that shoot there will be one that's going to shoot up to the surface of the soil and create new leaves. So that's quite interesting to see. Okay, so because a lot of soil did fall off of this, I'm going to need to add a bit more soil into the top of the pot again. So I'm just going to do that off camera quickly, just because it's going to be quite messy. Right, so I've just topped up some of the soil in the pot, and I'm going to do this very gently because this feels really fragile. And I don't know if leaving it in the pot for longer, the nursery pot, would have helped, because the mix was very fine, and there's not much other than just, it looks like maybe peat and perlite in there, which I've read is an absolute fine substrate to use, but I do want a little bit more aeration in the soil than just that, because that could become quite waterlogged if I were to water it quite heavily. So I've placed it in the pot here, and it does look really nice. It's just very loose, so I'm going to be really gentle when backfilling, and I'm quite happy with the height. So the soil level is going to be about this low in the pot, but I'm happy with that because it's easier to look after that way. So it's just now a matter of backfilling, and the camera angle is really bad, and I apologise, but I'm just going to be backfilling the soil. I'm not going to be compacting it down, so I'm not going to be pushing it down like I would if I was planting up maybe like a succulent or a general house plant, because I'm just cautious of allowing the aeration in the soil. I don't want to push all the cavities out of the soil. As well, I'm being gentle not to get the soil on the leaves, because these are really textured leaves. I feel like they'd probably hold on to a bit of dirt. And I'm just going to finish this off, and then I'll get a better camera angle and we can look a bit closer. Right, so I've just finished backfilling the compost, and I've just turned the light on just to get a bit of a better look at this. So luckily I didn't damage any of the flowering stems as I was doing that, and you can see, I'll show you a bit closer here, we can just see how I've backfilled it. So I've not filled it higher than the nursery line was in the pot, so all of those surface stems are still on show. I wouldn't want to bury any of those, because that may allow that may rot some of the stems or kill off a section of the plant. So I made sure to keep those all on show, and it's looking really nice in that pot. And yeah, that's really it. So the main focus will be to not let this dry out. I know a lot of plants can dry out a bit quicker in terracotta, but I'm going to keep on top of watering. That's not an issue for me. So yeah, I'll keep you guys updated on how much this grows, and if you guys have one of these yourselves and have any tips, then definitely let me know. I will be putting a dish under this, but I'm not going to be sitting it in water, obviously. So it's not yet flowering. It looks like it's close to, some of them look like they're quite close to opening up, but yeah, there we are. So those lower ones, I reckon they'll probably open up within a few days. And once they do, maybe I can do a quick video if you guys would be interested in seeing it open, or if you go check out my Instagram, I'll definitely be posting pictures on there. So that's going to be it for today regarding my new terrestrial orchid. So definitely let me know if you have any tips on looking after this guy. But thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.